Hey guys, in this video we'll be taking a look at an amazing web API that would help you to create awesome, robust web applications. Let's say you want to build a web application that have multiple web workers working in parallel, and somehow they also need to communicate, for example passing the data from one worker thread to the other. How would we do that? One way is to send message back to the main thread. From one worker thread, you send the message back to the main thread, and then that main thread pass on the message to the target worker thread. This is quite tedious as you need to listen to the message sent by a web worker, parse it, and then forward it to the required destination. Also, the listening, handling, and passing on is done on the main UI thread, which is actually not recommended. And it gets even more complicated when you have the same app running on two different tabs or windows and some communication wants to happen between them. Now you have to resort to server-side calls. Server receives the information and broadcasts it to all the other available instances. So is there a better way to do that or handle it? And there is. I give you BroadcastChannel API. Let's take a look at it. So if you guys haven't used it, it's time that you did. It's an awesome web API that is created to handle situations like above. To add to that, it can be used for communication between different isolated contexts, as I mentioned before. For example, iframes, tabs, even windows. But all the context should share the same origin. So let's take a look at the bad way of doing things. I have these two worker.js files with set interval as 8 seconds and 10 seconds. As soon as that is elapsed, I'm posting the message back with the target as webworker2 from webworker1 and webworker1 from webworker2. Also, I'm listening to the message using the onMessage event handler. And inside the main file, you can see I have created a map with those two IDs. And then as soon as I receive the message, I post the message to the target worker. And inside the debugger, we can see we have two web workers running. I have added the set map and let's just run it. And we'll wait for 8 or 10 seconds here. And you see, so message from worker 1, it comes from worker 1 and it's for worker 2. And likewise, message comes from worker 1 and it is received by worker 2. So as you can see, the code will get messy if we have more web workers, because you would have to register to all the onMessage event handlers, and you would have to cater to all the messages that are coming. Then you would have to parse them accordingly. Let's take a look at this code when we have BroadcastChannel API implemented. Now, in order to create a broadcast channel, you just need to create a new instance, passing in a string here. The string actually corresponds to the channel name, and if you create multiple instances of it, all these instances having the same channel name would communicate as one. It'll be a single channel. So this is how we can use BroadcastChannel API. So I created an instance here, passing in worker comm here, and inside every worker thread I'll also create a new channel. I'll just copy paste this code and I'll paste it here. So all instances would communicate on the same channel, and the channel have onMessage handler and also a post message function, and you can just register the handler and call the function and they would work as is. Let's take a look at it now. I'll just refresh this page and let's just wait for some time. So as you can see, we have received a message from worker 2 on worker 1 using the BroadcastChannel API, and also from worker 1 to worker 2, and this works as is. And let's see an example where we can pass in information from one tab to the other tab, and then from one window to the other window. So I created an instance of broadcast channel with the name as comm channel, and then I'm also listening to the onMessage event, and then I'm also posting a message and generating a random ID which I'm actually posting. So on click of this button, just to mention, and I've added a debugger here. I'll click on this button and it created a new ID. I'm also logging it, okay, and then I'm posting this message. Now as soon as I post it, I haven't received it here because this is the tab, or this is the instance of the BroadcastChannel API that is actually passing the message to a different context. So this instance is actually based on isolation context. So this particular instance, this particular area is a single isolated context here. As you can see here, we have this top isolated context, and the context that actually broadcasts the messages does not listen to it, because it will just ignore it because it only broadcasted it. And if I duplicate this tab and then click on this particular button again, this time it broadcasts again, say sending blah blah blah, and here we have received it. This is the magic of BroadcastChannel API. And if you want to see the magic of Windows, I'll just extract it outside, and then this time I'll broadcast message from this particular window, and the message will not be received here but inside this window. So that's it, guys. If you already knew about this API, please leave a like, and I hope the people who didn't know about this API, it might help you in some way, because it helped us in our particular application keep making awesome applications.